Yes. What's happening, people? Welcome to another episode of Hustle Smart.
That's it. Welcome back. Welcome back.
Today we have a real special guest.
You know what I mean?
What's going on?
We got Josh Bright here.
The infamous.
The kid who is.
You're too kind. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you for coming, man.
It's a pleasure.
So yeah, just for our listeners, we just want to kind of hit, like, I know your story. Most people might know your story as well, but for those who don't know, could you just tell us your story? Like, don't be humble about it. Let us know about you and what you've done, because there's a lot to it as well.
Yeah, cool. Thanks. So yeah, as Shubbz already mentioned, my name's Josh Bright. Currently, I'm an investment banking vice president. I work within an area called debt capital markets. So I basically help corporates and financial institutions raise money in the public market. So we're talking, millions, like 500 million, billions of money at, any one time. Kind of my backstory, and I know this is what he wants me to kind of get into.
Let's get to it.
So
wait. Before we get onto that,
yeah,
can you just tell our listeners kind of what a typical day is like?
Yeah, sure. Cool. So I wake up 5:30, 6 o'clock. If I'm going into the office, obviously a lot later when I'm working from home, I kind of get to my desk. So whether I'm at home or in the office by 7:20. We have a traders call in the morning. So we kind of hear from, ourselves and our trading desks as to what's going on in the markets. Just a quick brief overview. That runs for about half an hour. Then we get into the day. So if I've got deals that, I'll be running, we'll have the client call in the morning around 8:15. Basically, are we going to go? Are we not going to go? If they go, then we start the deal. We launch the deal in the market, speak to investors constantly. That process will continue for a number of hours, and hopefully the deal goes well. We'll be constantly having conversations with, the issuer, with our salespeople, with investors as well, just to get some feedback and some more color, so that, we can kind of make the right and appropriate decisions to move the trade forward. Come to about 3-4 o'clock, we'll price the deal. So that essentially means, like, basically locking in all the documentation, make sure everything makes sense and it's all kind of signed off and checked by the other banks that are on the trade as well. And then, yeah, we kind of do like all the admin stuff. So, we'll be covering like a number of clients. So I focus on corporates mainly across the UK, Europe, and I have some coverage in the US as well. So what that basically means is that, someone could come to me and be like, I need to, understand how much McDonald's or Mondelez or whoever it may be can raise in the markets, how much will cost them, give me a breakdown across a number of different years. So we're talking about bonds here, which works similar to loans, essentially. So you know how a loan is, you got like a 9-year loan, for example, you pay an interest rate on top. I'm basically telling, the issuer how much is that interest rate you're going to be paying, whether you do it off a 5-year loan, 5-year bond, 10-year bonds, 20 years, and so on and so forth. So I obviously have all my pricings to do. Then beginning of the day, end of the day, I send out like a market comment to our salespeople, our coverage bankers, and basically, our senior management as well. So I do that, and basically that tells, in the morning we say what deals are out there and kind of the news in brief. End of the day, it's, a snapshot of, how the deals are performed, and any other interesting color that we received throughout the course of the day. So I end my day, this week's been crazy. Like, I think every day, bar Friday, I finished at like 9:30, 10. And that's starting from, 7:30 in the morning. So, and it's not like I'm like, chilling or like, taking breaks. I'm literally at my desk. So, yeah, it's been busy. But it's good to be busy, right? And you know, this is the time to be busy. I'm young, I'm fit, I'm healthy, right? So this is the time where you want to try and make advantage and make a name for yourself.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
so that's kind of what a typical day looks like for me.
But you see, with like your job role, is it mostly learned on the job, or you kind of need a kind of some training behind? Can like the whole Mike Cross, can I just come in, get the opportunity and run with it and do exactly what you're doing, or do I need like specific knowledge or specific qualification?
Yeah, to be honest, it's an interesting one, right? And I think it depends on your level. So obviously I'm not coming in as a junior. I'm coming in quite, not the most senior, but I'm coming in kind of mid to senior level, right? So there is an expectation that you would have either done the role before or you have some sort of technical knowledge to enable you to do the role. When you're coming in as a junior, no one expects you to, well, in some institutions, I would say, no one really expects you to know what you're doing. Yes, it would help if you have some sort of technical background, whether that's, economics degree, an internship, you could have studied whatever. Like if you've done an internship, then you kind of have an idea as to, how it would be, on a day-to-day basis. But there's no set expectation. I think a lot of what we learn or what we do, you can learn on the job. I think, many people have said to me that, going to uni, it just shows you have the ability to learn. It doesn't show you have the ability to perform a certain job. So I think, as I to in a nutshell, I think, definitely you can learn on the job at a more junior level. It gets a lot harder. It's not impossible to do it. The more senior you get, but you have more of a steeper learning curve.
Yeah, definitely.
Because you have to get up to speed, but then you have to get up to speed as if you've been doing that job for like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years. So there's kind of that balance, and that's why it's a lot harder for you to kind of move into a certain other areas once you've been in a role for a certain amount of time, just because you may have an unfair disadvantage, starting, 4 or 5 years in, because there's people that have done it for, 4 or 5 years prior to you. So, I think it just depends on the level, really.
Makes sense.
Get you. Cool. And so just for the backstory.
Yeah, I tried to get away from that.
Yeah, you can't, because really and truly, to be honest, it has to come from your mum.
No,
I don't even want to do you a disservice. So we want to hear all about it, man.
Cool. So I grew up in Hackney. Spent the first 17, 18 years of my life in Hackney, London Fields. And when I was 5 years old, I sat my first GCSE. So GCSE in maths. My dad was a maths teacher, so literally, if I wasn't good at maths, I don't know what I would have been good at. And then fast forward, I had 8 GCSEs at the age of 11. And then after that, did A levels that period after, and then started at Queen Mary University at the age of 14, and came out with a first in maths and business management and finance at the age of 17. So that was obviously an interesting experience.
Then the masters, let's not forget.
Yeah, let's not forget the masters.
Where did you do the masters?
Literally the year after.
Jesus.
So did the masters the year after. Got CFA as well now. So I did that. Well, I just finished that a couple of years ago. But I've got CFA as well. And obviously in between that, I started between my third year and my masters, I actually did my internship. Yeah, I did an internship at Goldman's. I think it was in my end of my third year. I did an internship there in their risk management department. So that was 10 weeks in the summer. Loved it. It was actually really cool. I didn't really know what I wanted to do in banking anyway at the time. I was just, let me just make some money. Like, I just didn't really know. I just thought any part of the bank you'll make good money, right? And it's funny because when I was in Brookhouse, I went to Brookhouse Sixth Form College in Hackney, and I was on this Academy of Finance program, and that was the first ever experience I had with banking, like proper experience. I was given a mentor. I'll never forget him. Duncan Rawson. He worked in risk at HSBC. And HSBC in Canary Wharf. So I was like, 15 at the time. he's taken me to his like massive office. Like he worked like way high on the floor. Like showed me what he does. I met his teammates or his colleagues. Like, and that was the first experience I had. And I was like, yeah, I want to be in this environment. I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I had no clue. I'll be real. I had no clue. But I was like, this is where I see myself.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, I want to work for a bank like HSBC. That's what I said at the time. So everything I geared my academic kind of courses, I geared it towards ending up in banking. So I knew I was obviously strong in maths. So that was always going to be my major. But I wanted to, obviously get the business management aspect and then also get the finance aspect as well in my degree. And it worked out. It was the best experience I had. Like, I really, really enjoyed it. And then, so did a few years at Goldman's. Then I moved to Lloyd's in their capital markets division. And that was my first experience of what I do now. So I was given I was there for about 3 years, and 6 months or about 4 to 5 months out of that, I was given an opportunity to go and work in New York on the bond syndicate desks. That's what I do now. Bonds. I work in debt syndicate right now, and literally it was the best. I say to date, it was the best kind of 5 months from a professional experience, but then also from a personal experience. That was the first time I've ever lived out. I remember like when my mom was dropping me. Well, when I was getting dropped to the airport, my mom was at home. She was just like, "No, like I'm so sad." She was so sad. She was crying. She's like, I was like, in my head, I was thinking, "Mom, I'm literally going to live my best life for 5 months. Like, I'm literally, I don't know why you're crying, because I'm certainly not crying." So yeah, so I was in like literally lived like 5 minutes from Times Square, all paid for as well. And you're like, this is like, once in a lifetime opportunity.
For sure.
And that was where my love for kind of, DCM, debt capital markets, bond syndicate kind of rose from. So yeah, did that 5 months, then came back to London. And then unfortunately they didn't have like a permanent position here. There was just issues and so on and so forth. Moved to UBS. And UBS was a very, very interesting part of my career, because I moved into a very different area of banking or finance. I moved into wealth management. But I'd say it's probably the area where I learned the most about myself and kind of what I can do from a technical perspective, but then also from a personal perspective. Like, I was speaking to hedge fund managers, senior managing directors, entrepreneurs, people that had inherited money, and I had to tailor my message according to the person I was speaking to. And that is a very, very difficult skill to be able to have, because I remember like when I first got in, I was just like, yeah, the markets is doing this, rallies, volatility, this, that, and the other. And my manager listened back. He was like, mate, like the woman had no clue what you're saying.
Speak their language.
You have to speak their language. And being able to do that was one of the things that I, was able to obviously amass over the 2 years. And I think, for me, it was a very, very important part in my kind of my professional career, my learning curve as well, because we sometimes kind of look at the being the most technical person on the floor, or being the smartest person on the floor, but you need to be the person that can break things down as well, and really understand your audience. And I'll get into capital moments as well. And one of the reasons why myself and the rest of the boys set up capital moments, but that was one of the very important skills that I definitely learned during that time. I was there for UBS for a couple of years, but I knew I wanted to get back into syndicate. That was kind of my passion. It's what I wanted to do. And the way I got this job was crazy, because I have a mentor right now. He's a senior managing director. He's a managing director at Citi, and he'd been the way we met was weird. Like, guys, network like crazy. Like, there's no excuses not to network. I'll say this for as a personal experience myself. Like, I met him because there was a role in his team. He was hiring for a space on his team at JP. In the syndicate desk. So I just messaged him on LinkedIn. I said, look, this is my story. This is what I'm trying to do. I've seen this role come up. Is it still available? I'd love to have like, a chat about it. And he messaged me back. He said they've already filled, the application, but he'd still like to meet. And, obviously we met up, we spoke, and sometimes you meet people and you're just like, they doesn't meet you for meeting's sake. But when someone is genuine and he took the time to meet me, there was no like potential job offer at the time. But I saw the value in having him as a contact beyond that job opportunity.
Yeah, for sure.
And we're talking maybe 18 months to 2 years now since I've known him. It's not like I call him every day, but when I do call him, I learn so much from the guy in the space of 20, 30 minutes that I always know I'm going to gain, I'm going to benefit. I try to add my own 2 cents as well where I can.
Definitely.
But the guy's been through this market for nearly 15, 20 years. Right? So there's only so much I can tell him, I can only give him kind of a perspective from someone who's a bit younger. But we spoke about what we know March 6 months ago now. I just messaged him on WhatsApp. We were talking, and he was like, "Oh, Josh, this recruiter's come to me, telling me that he's got a role going at XYZ. Would you be interested?" I said, "Of course, yeah, that, I'd be interested because, I was trying to see if there was opportunities where he is right now, but he was quite new and just, long story, but he then put me in contact with the recruiter, and it's funny because see these recruiters, they won't give you the time of day. They won't give you the time of day. Like if you cold call or you say, "Oh, I've seen this," they won't give you the time of day. As soon as someone important, or someone senior,
position
backs you,
your best friend.
Yeah. Hey Josh, how are you? Yeah, like, mate, we spoke like literally 2 weeks ago. You told me, get me. And then the process was very, very quick after that. Like, I say like a couple of months. But I guess what I wanted to kind of get out of that part of the story was the importance of the networking. And the importance of proactivity as well.
Yeah.
Like even when we apply for jobs now, you have to think of it like I'm going up against 5,000 other people. How can I stand out? Yes, they may not even reply to a LinkedIn message. They may not reply to an email. But what's the worst? Yeah,
there's only upsides.
Yeah, there's only upsides. And kind of, what's the word? Sometimes it may be an ego thing. Like, why am I having to do this? Or like, you just have to humble yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
Because at the end of the day, if you want that opportunity as much as you say you do, you're gonna do anything to get it. And I've been there a few months now. I'm loving it, man. Just going well. Like, it's a great opportunity working with across the banking sector as well. So you work with a number of people across banks when you work on different deals. But then obviously you're working with people in your firm as well that, have tons of experience, and you have people that you can, really rely on and really learn from as well, along with, mentors in the game that give you that advice and give you that support as well, that, if you have things that you don't necessarily want to go to your manager about, you have someone you can be a sounding board.
No, for sure. Sure, yeah. Very, very solid, man. And like one thing that I love the most is I think I was reading and like I think like your mum said like Josh like wants to do it, so why don't we push him? Yeah. He's been blessed to do, and I feel like just a lot of the time we wait for permission or we wait to do things traditionally. For example, like you basically are a disruptor. Do you know what I mean? Like sitting your GCSEs at 5 years old, like usually people would wait for you to, let him get to 15, 14. But there's also, like you said, there's no reason, because it's this way doesn't mean it has to be this way for everyone. And I feel like that's a real important message that I got. Like you don't actually have, for example, like I mentor a young girl who is 15. She wants to start her own social media agency. And it's like, you don't need to wait till you finish university to start a business. Like everything is permissionless. You got to give yourself that permission. You don't need to wait for anywhere, or you don't need to do it the steps everyone else has been doing it. Facts, so bro, I really love that so much.
Like even today, like I haven't got into this part, and we'll probably get into it later. But I ran a financial literacy workshop for primary school kids today.
Yeah.
And one of the kids is probably in year 6 or year 5. She said, "I'm starting a business," and I was like, "Wow!" Like, you know, she's not like, I'm going to start a business in 5 years' time. She's like, "I'm starting a business. It's called XYZ.
Yeah.
I'm going to put it on this platform, and this is what we're going to sell." And I was like, that is determination.
Yeah,
That's
for
hunger.
sure, for sure.
You know, at that age, you can. There was another boy on there. Like, I kid you not, the boy was in year 5. Yeah, the boy was in year 5. We were talking about, you know, I just basically said, "Oh, these are the types of ways you can, you know, make additional money." So I said, you know, you could buy a property and rent it out. You could invest. The guy raised his hand. He said, "Yeah, sir, I invest with my dad. I bought shares in this company." And this company. I was like, you're 10, you're 9.
Guy's 9 years old.
Bro, like, it's like the game has changed.
Yeah, definitely. Like,
the game has
you don't need to wait for anyone to give you permission. Like,
some of the biggest
hunger.
companies, are disruptors. Look at Uber.
Word.
Look what they done to like the black cab industry.
Yeah,
they disrupted them, and to the point where they got, you know, the black cab guys got, you know, pissed off and so on and so forth. But some of the biggest companies are disruptors.
No, definitely.
You know?
And I think what it is as well is like a lot of people, for example, I was having a phone call yesterday and someone saying, "Hey, Shubbz, I want to do this. I have everything there, but I just don't know where to start." And I just said, you just had to start. There's no sexy code. There's no sexy recipe. No magic word. It's just starting. As you start, you find your way.
Facts.
Like when we said, Alex and I, we said we wanted to start a podcast. Cool. What did we do? We built a team. We looked for studios. We started.
Just got it cracking.
And we just got it cracking, and we started finding out ways in which we can, how we get the audio on YouTube. You figure it out along the way. You don't wait till you have everything there, because it's all that matters is that first step, and then everything follows. Do you know what I mean? It's an endless process of learning. Do you know what I mean? So that's one thing I really want people to understand, that it's not about the right time. There's no such thing as the perfect time, or you need to do this first, or you need to have this much. Start with what you have. Start where you are. Really and truly. So
I got a question, right? So obviously you done a lot in a short space of time, and also at a very young age as well. How did that, like, did that put pressure on like your social life and with friends as well, and even with like, relationships that you just had with certain people?
Yeah, it's funny because I get asked that a lot, and obviously there's age restrictions on what, you know, I could have done at that time in terms of like going out clubbing, and I didn't do that, but now I can do it. And to be honest, as you rightly mentioned, sometimes that can strain friendships, that can strain relationships. But I was lucky; I had friends that understood the vision,
for sure.
And had people around me, support systems that understood the vision, that understood what, you know, we were doing and what I was going through. In terms of pressure, the person that put pressure on me was myself. Like, the pressure I was putting on myself was, I need to be the best. I need to get a first. I need to make sure I do well in this internship. I need to make sure I do well in my masters. That was the pressure. And like, there'll be times where literally exam period, bro, you wouldn't hear from me. Like, my phone, I just dash it somewhere. Like, at the time was Facebook and like MySpace, I think at the time. I'd literally just deactivate everything. BlackBerry Ping or whatever it was called at the time. Deactivated everything, bro. Like, I literally ghosted for like, I say a month. And what that did for me was, it's helped me because, I mean, to some people it's extreme. But that was the way I felt that I was going to give my all. You know, at the same time, the people that were around me understood. You know, that was the way I dealt with things. That was the way I got into exam mode. That was the way I zoned out. And, you know, my friends were cool with it. Obviously, family's cool with it. I'm staying at home with them so they can see the determination. They can see the drive. And it worked out, you know, by God's grace. And if we fast forward now to the last, you know, I say like 3-4 years, I was obviously studying for the CFA. And for those who don't know, CFA is, you know, a 6-hour exam split, 3 hours in the morning and the afternoon. But, you know, the recommended revision time is like something crazy, like 200 hours or something crazy like that anyway. And there's 3 levels. And you have to sit, it's basically 1 a year, right? So I was like, I want to try and, just bang these out, 3 in 3 years, right? And all that I'd heard from people before was, it's long. I did level 1. I didn't even do level 2 and 3. It's too hard. But I was like, I'm gonna cut all of that negativity away. I'm gonna go for it. So I do the same thing. Like, people around me be like, how are you spending like 10, 11 hours in a library? Like, you're not getting up. You're not like speaking to people on the phone. You're just zoned out. Like, how do you do that?
I remember
innit? You remember Horn Church, innit? Horn Church, when you be coming with your friends to come and disturb me. No, I'm joking. But, like, I'd be in the library, like, every day. Like, I was like to myself, I'm going to give every blood, sweat and tear that I have for the next 2, 3, 4 weeks. So that if I don't pass, I know it's because I just didn't get it. Like, it's just, I just didn't understand what I was doing. I had nothing else that I could add. No extra value I could have brought.
Everything on the floor.
I left everything on the floor, on the table, get me on at that exam. And fortunately, it went well. And I think for me, that sense of self-discipline all stemmed from, the way that my parents raised me and my sisters.
Yeah. But where does that drive come from though? Because that's like, although your parents may obviously helped you with that self-discipline and raised you that way, but for you to have that initiative, that determination, that drive, where does that mindset come from? Like, how do you also like grow that mindset now that you don't ever get complacent? Because growing up, the high achievers in school, sometimes like when they're naturally gifted as well, they could just say, yeah, you know what, this exam's come on, I'm going to ace it, so maybe I'll start revising in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Where does that initiative, where does that drive come from?
It's funny because it comes from my parents. Because, like, my parents came from Naj. I know what they came here with and I know what they have now. It's hard work.
Yeah.
And having them to keep me grounded, like, they always tell me that you can do more. You can do more. You haven't finished. Don't ever get into that mindset of complacency.
Definitely.
Having that in the back of your mind and knowing that you want to make them proud, and your family proud, that's where it comes from. That drive and that determination, like, I personally think it was instilled from a very early age.
Definitely.
But obviously, as life adapts, and life kind of evolves, you get more inspirations. So my missus, my daughter, my sisters, my cousins, my aunties, my uncles, like, just my friends as well. Like, just being able to inspire people as well. I think there's just a multifaceted kind of level of inspiration that has definitely helped me to, right now, and will continue as well. And you make a good point as well. Like, it's very easy to become complacent, but the minute you become complacent is the minute someone below you jumps.
Yeah, for
100%.
sure.
Because there's people that are fighting to get to where you are.
Definitely. And a lot of people don't see that. Like, of course, it's good not to, like, for example, I just did a 50k run challenge, innit? And like, I done it in 9 days.
Fact.
And in my head, that seemed impossible.
Yeah.
But because of a leaderboard, I knew I had to get out of bed. I had to do 11k one day.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I'm not usually competitive. I'm very just like, I just focus on me. Like, I focus on just get value, just do what your purpose is. Don't focus on no one else. But I feel like once that competitive nature kicked in, like, I was even saying to my friends, like, listen, we got to do this for the hustle. We got to see what everyone's making this month. Let's 10x it. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like that competitive spirit is so important because
healthy, innit?
Yeah, because healthy competition, right? Because although it's like, don't watch anyone else, but this is not to look better than anyone else. It's to perform at your best.
100%.
Like you said, knowing that you did everything you can and you left on the floor.
100%.
Do you know what I mean? So I definitely feel like
you make a very good point there as well. And I think this is also very important. It's about who you keep around you.
Oh, that's
Definitely.
It's about who you
so
keep around you, because if you have people that inspire you, then you spending that extra time won't be a surprise to them. It will be a motivator to them for them to start doing their exams or for them to start trying to do something different as well. You want to keep people around you that, you know, have the same kind of core values and vision that you have.
Definitely.
Otherwise, you're just going to be stagnant.
No,
Do you know what?
definitely.
Just to interject, yeah, if it wasn't for my set of day ones that I had, yeah, I don't think I would have made it to uni, you know. Obviously, I failed first year. Like, I got 3 U's one D. They come to my yard, bro. I was banging Xbox, bro. I'll never forget the day. They were like, fam, how are you getting 3 U's, bro? You're a retard. Are you stupid? I was like, aye, bro.
Touched
Like,
you, innit?
allow me, man.
Yeah,
And then, bro, I went sick with the work rate, fam. Like, I'm saying, just go all out, bro.
Yeah.
So,
100%.
nah, the company you keep is very, very key still.
For sure.
Very key.
For sure. I want to tap into capital moments because I feel like what you're doing is amazing. Because even like growing up, like I think I've said on this podcast last time, I wanted to be an investment banker because of you. I used to ask.
I remember
you
the conversations we had
every
as well.
time, just because like you see someone who's like a proper role model and you want to get into it. And I feel like stuff like that is so key. And I know there's a lot of work that has gone on to help so many young black people or even just ethnic minorities as well. So would love to tap into that. Like, what was the inspiration behind it? And also, what is it as well?
Yeah, sure. So I'll kind of say, I'll start with the latter. So Capital Moments is essentially a social enterprise. So we were set up about 5 years ago now. Myself and 5 other founders. Basically, what we do is we help students, graduates, and young professionals attain commercial awareness. And we do that through a number of ways. So we...
But before you get into what is commercial awareness? A lot of people don't actually know what it is.
Yeah, sure. Commercial awareness is essentially having an understanding of what's going on around you. It's the easiest way to explain it. So, you know, every news story can impact us in one way or another, right? And it's about having that ability to think outside the box as to how it can impact you from a political perspective, from a personal finance perspective, just from a general economic perspective as well, and in any other way that it can potentially impact you as well. So we cover personal finance, we cover entrepreneurship, we cover economics, we cover politics, we cover lifestyle and sport as well. And we do that through a number of ways. So we have a website, capital-moments.com. Get that in now before I forget. We've got we've got the Instagram and Twitter, just Capital Moments. And we're also on LinkedIn as well. So we basically, you know, push out new stories, run different polls, and you know, kind of keep that social media interaction on there. Then we have on the website we have blogs, so they're written by students for other students. So it could be on you know, Brexit. Well, at the time it was Brexit. We were speaking about. You know, it could be on, you know, things that you would invest in, like just topics that kind of get conversations going. And then we also have kind of our events strand as well. So we've run a number of events collaborating with a number of fantastic companies in the past. So we've worked with Barclays, we've worked with TFL.
You worked with KPMG as well?
Yes, we worked with KPMG. We worked with KPMG. We've also worked with JP. So we had a couple of speakers from JP come to one of our events. We've worked with Funding Circle. So we've worked with a few companies. And we're obviously trying to continue growing that. But some of the topics that we talk about, how to get onto the property ladder. We've also looked at, you know, how to invest or how to invest in companies from a, you know, Funding Circle perspective, so investing. Then we've also looked at how to kind of balance a side hustle with a day-to-day 9-to-5 job. These are some of the, you know, we've done, you know, other kind of topics as well, but, you know, these are the ones that come, you know, to memory straight away. And they've all been well received, all been sold out, and not just sold out, but with great, fantastic feedback off the back of them as well. Yeah, so we set that up 5 years ago. And I think, where did the motivation come from? So at the time, we were all kind of, the founders were all kind of doing their own sort of blogs. So I had my own one, which was quite markets focused at the time. And I personally did it because I wanted to become more commercially aware, you know, to
teach
just
them our
improve
learning.
myself. Exactly, yeah. Then Lex had his own. Chids, Tom, and Demi. They all kind of were doing their own thing. At the time, and we were all kind of friends connected in one way or another. So we sat down and we were just like, look, guys, why don't we, put our collective efforts together?
Yeah, for sure.
And let's build a platform. Let's not just build a platform for ourselves. Let's build a platform for our community. Let's give them that ability to obtain the commercial awareness, the commercial awareness that a lot of their other counterparts from other backgrounds have, because either their dad works in the bank or their mum is a director at this company, or their uncle or auntie works in a hedge fund. They're getting that first-hand experience, and if you don't have those, direct role models, let's be indirect role models to the next generation.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, we that's kind of what we do. So the reason why we do it is not for the money. Everything we've made, we've reinvested back into that company.
Yeah, for sure.
Like 100%, we've reinvested back into that company. We even wrote a book on how to. This was myself and Lex. We wrote a book how to secure a full-time offer off the back of an internship. How to get an internship as well. And that was just for the sole purpose that people were coming to us asking for advice.
No, definitely.
Looks like what, £3? Like it's not much, but the fact that people invested in it and were able to then get full-time offers off the back of what they'd read. That's where the benefit is.
Yeah, for sure. No, I love that, because that just goes back to exactly what we were speaking about in terms of no permission. You don't need permission. Like you said, if someone wants to become commercially aware, there's now resources, and you offer a whole platform where people can learn it. And it's just that whole initiative, like understanding that no one's going to hand it to you. You just have to do that research. And when you do that research, you'll come across platforms like yours that has that A to B guide for most topics. And even being able to reach out to you as well in sense of, hey, can I have the advice regarding this? And even just sending them a link and saying, read this blog. And I feel like that's what a lot of people like that are successful do. They have that
100%.
Initiative of just simply searching it, like you said, that constant learning, that being able to push yourself out there and to find that knowledge and execute that knowledge as well. So I really love the whole notion about Capital Moments as well, and the work it's doing as well, because it's so necessary, because like you said, a lot of people or the more privileged might have people they can get that kind of knowledge from. But being able to grow your mind from a young age to now understanding how the world works, understanding how to make money. Like I said it the other day, once I learned how to make £1 on the internet, everything changed, right? And once again, that's permissionless. I don't need to ask. Like, you learn how money works and then you just start making it. And I feel like just being able to use that knowledge and execute and apply it is a game changer. And having people like you put platforms like that is what leads to that change as well.
Yeah, the one thing my mum always reiterates to me is that knowledge is power. Once you have it, it can't be taken away. 100%. You can monetize it and do whatever you want with it. But once it's in your head, it can't be extracted back out.
For sure.
And it's a lot more accessible now as well.
Yeah, word.
If we look at the retail trader frenzy that we're seeing right now, like, all you need to do is go on Reddit. You go and see what people are buying.
Literally.
You go and see why they're buying it. Like, it's so accessible now. It's crazy. Like, I never thought we would see a time like this. And like even like crypto as well. Like, if you really understand it, there's opportunities there. Like, there's so many more opportunities now. To make money, like you say. But then just to even understand, how to invest as well. Like,
for sure.
YouTube. Like, just go on YouTube.
I think a lot of people they overcomplicate it because they just hear terms and phrases that they aren't familiar with, and it's like, oh, no, I'm not gonna do it. But it's not that hard. Like bro, I learned about crypto in like a couple of days. Do you know what I'm saying? Just from using YouTube and just reading online.
Definitely.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Definitely. No, for sure. Like, YouTube, it's crazy. Like, you can search in anything and someone has made content for that, for sure. But even other than all of that, on top of that, you're now an author as well. So congrats for that, man. But we'd love to know the journey about that. And also, like, once again, back to that, you don't need to be a certain age to understand financial literacy.
100%.
So we'd love to hear some more about that as well.
Yeah, sure. So I released my first book. It's It's called Tyra's Sweet Shop. It's
We'll link it down below, by the way.
cool. Yeah, so yeah, Tyra's Sweet Shop. Essentially, it's a financial literacy storybook. I got the inspiration from my daughter. You know, she just turned 1 last Monday. And I was like, what can I do to kind of help her development as she gets older? And, you know, you can get the general fiction storybooks, you can get the, you know, non-fiction books. But I was like, how can I develop a book? Because I always wanted to write one like, by myself. How can I write a book that has a meaning beyond morals, essentially? Morals is very important, by the way. But what can I do which kind of differentiates me from the other authors that are out there? And I was like, I was struggling. Like, genuinely, I was like, where do I find financial literacy storybooks that aren't books that are just teaching me the theory, but teach me practically?
The basics, yeah.
Basics, exactly. And I was like, I literally genuinely couldn't find. And I was like, okay, so why don't I do it? And it comes back to that point where you're like, you don't need to know the full process to start. Like the first bit you need to know before you write a book is you need to write the content, right? So you start writing the content. So I started on that. And then it evolved into understanding the self-publishing process. So getting an illustrator and designer, getting the book designed, getting the book printed, doing the marketing, etc., etc. All of that stuff. But that came later. That was a learning curve, and that was a learning journey. But I could have waited another 6 months and still be in the same position, right? It's about taking action.
For sure.
So I guess the quick synopsis of the book is Tyra has an old bike. She goes to her mum, shout out her mum, shout out Keji. And she wants to buy a new bike. She goes to her mum, her mum says no. And then she has 2 friends. So they devise a way to basically turn her old bike into a mobile sweet shop. And basically make money from, you know, buying in bulk and then selling, you know, the sweets to make profit. So they kind of go through that journey throughout the book. So it starts with them breaking even or making a loss, breaking even, doing some chores to get the money to start the business up, writing a business plan. So it goes through the whole process, well, in the correct order, of course. But and then at the back, we've got like a mini business plan and then some activities for the kids to do. And I kid you not, like, that's one of my proudest achievements.
No, for sure. Like, it's a great book.
No,
I got it for my niece and nephew as well, and they love it as well. So yeah, it's very much, and like you said, just teaching them from young, understanding the basics. You don't need to be 20 then start thinking how does business work.
You don't.
So I love that a lot, man.
Yeah.
But in summary of everything you've achieved right now, what would you say are the 2 like most key factors? Like, what would you kind of attribute it to? Like, what are your like main values in terms of that's made you who you are right now?
I think the number one, without a shadow of a doubt, it's not like my power. It's God. Like I solely believe that I'm very, very blessed to be where I am. And I have a platform, or I have multiple platforms to make an impact. And God has given me those platforms to be able to make that impact. I think that's 100% the one number one by a mile, by no sense of the imagination. That's 100% number one. But then I say also, what other things have helped is my family, you know. I always come back to it. Like, I think, and I'm not just talking my mum, dad, sisters, and I'm talking about my like everyone, like literally, and I class friends as family as well. Like everyone, because I'm one of those people is I don't want to disappoint people. And it comes back to putting pressure on yourself. Like I don't want to be in a position where I'm like, gosh, like, oh man, I wish I did this, I wish I did that. So I'm always constantly thinking about the bigger picture. Self-discipline as well. See, you have to enjoy yourself, but you have to be disciplined at the same time. You have to have that goal. You have to have that plan. Like, what does 5 years look for you? Yeah, it could change massively. It could change massively, but if you have a goal in place and you have a target, I think that's definitely what helps.
Yeah, you know what you're working towards.
There's a combination of factors, but I think, like I say, the most important one is God, because without Him, I wouldn't even be here.
No, for sure.
You know.
sure.
So yeah, man, that's definitely what I would attribute it to. So
No, definitely, man. And yeah, so just like last question, what is the most practical advice you'll give to a young person right now looking to be in your position in a couple of years' time?
hustle smart.
For sure. What does hustle smart mean to you, though?
Yeah, no, what does hustle smart mean to me? I think knowing how to play the game you're trying to get into.
Facts.
You know, because you know, everyone can give you their stare, or they can tell you X, Y, Z, or you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. Do what you feel is best, and learn from the mistakes as you go along. Because if you just copy someone else's blueprint, you're just gonna get to where they get to.
Definitely.
I don't want anyone to just be like me. I want them to want to go past what I've done, achieve more. Like, and I'm one of those people that I don't mind putting people on. Like, people can't come and tell you that I don't help them. Like, I have mentees. I have mentees, and I go above and beyond for my mentees. Like, help them with interviews, help them get interviews, message the people that they've had interviews with to put in a good word for them. Like I don't have to do that. Like, these are, you know, some of the, like, they're accessible. I'm accessible to them at any time, you know? So I think, you know, because I know how people have been accessible to me and helped me in my journey. So it's just about repaying that faith. But I think, you know, the key advice that I would give is staying true to yourself as well. That's a very, very key one. Like, you need to be true to yourself. You need to know how to play the game well. But you need to be determined. You know, and be ready to accept defeat and accept failure, but bouncing back from it is the key part. Because, you know, there's no career, there's no perfect journey, there's no perfect career. There's always going to be twists and turns, or different roads you have to take, or disappointments that you're going to, you know, see along the way. Even securing a job, securing that job, the first job, I know how hard it is. Like, I see it on a daily basis. I have people that message me all the time. Yo, can you get me an internship? Can you get me a work placement? I'll work for free. And my heart is bleeding for them because I know these are people that are hungry. And there's a lot of people, you know, that, I guess through no fault of their own, have, you know, been gifted opportunities. They're no better than them, but it's just the way that the world is right now. And I think having that drive, having that determination to not give up, continue going, but staying true to yourself throughout that journey.
Yeah, for sure.
You will definitely get where you want to get to.
Definitely.
And I think when you have that, it's infectious as well. Like, if you're sitting in front of an interview, they'll pick up on that. Do you know what I mean? So, like,
proactivity speaks volumes.
For sure.
Proactivity speaks volumes.
For sure. We end on a word or phrase of the week. So what would you like that to be? Proactivity speaks volumes, or would you like another one?
Wow. You caught me off guard. Do you know what? I'm gonna say a phrase that my dad used to say to me when we were growing up, and it's resonated with me throughout my life to date. And it's something that I'm definitely gonna be saying to Tyra as she grows up as well, and any future siblings that she has. It's those who read will lead. You know, those who read will lead. It's very simple. It's very easy to understand, but it's powerful.
For sure.
You know, you can go and look at the top leaders across any industry. Those guys need to be knowledgeable.
Yeah, for sure. Constant learning.
Facts.
Constant learning. So you want to see yourself as number 2 and you want to be number 1. How do I get there? And it's by, you know, just trying to assimilate as much information as possible.
Definitely.
Trying to be that proactive bunny that just hops from A to B to C, but it's constantly learning.
Yeah, for
You know,
sure.
there's no point in doing that without adding value to yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, those who read will lead, man.
There you have it, guys. Those who read will lead.
That's it.
Thank you so much, man, for coming on
Thank
the
you,
podcast,
boys, for having
man.
me,
So
man.
much
Pleasure.
game. Really, really appreciate you being here and just letting all the audience really understand your journey and how they can also follow your path as well, man.
Make sure you like, subscribe, comment.
Yes, sir.
Check out Capital Moments. Check out Tyra's Sweet Shop. We'll put all the links below. And
Thanks for listening, guys. Remember, focus on
things that move the needle.
Wow.